Good morning. We are on our 5th day of How Do I Homeschool Boot Camp. Today we're going to talk about high school, which is one of my favorite subjects. Let's see, where's my slides? I never have my slides there. How do I homeschool high school? This is one of my favorite stages with the kids, and we are going to have so much fun today. But I will say that I had carpool glitch with my one of my oldest teens today, and so when I can't just sit here all day long. So anyway, I'm gonna cover all the information. If you have questions, ask me there in the comments. I'll see them. And at about 9:30, I'm gonna have to leave us. But if you have more questions, just put them in the bottom and I'll answer. And if there's enough, I'll come back and I'll log on this afternoon and finish and answer questions. Because I know high school is such a scary time. I know when, okay, I have 5. If you don't know me, I have 5 kids. My oldest 2 have graduated now. I have one in 10th, going into 10th, and then I have an 8th grader and my soon-to-be 1st grader. So I've graduated too. And I remember each time I always get nervous when they start high school. And I don't know why. I've already done it twice. So why am I nervous? I'm like, you would think I would know by now. But there's something exciting and nerve-wracking when you start high school. But it really is one of the best times. So, that was one of my points. Take a deep breath, relax. Homeschool is some of the best years with your babies, and you will enjoy every minute of it. We're going to make sure it happens. So, okay, when you're looking at high school and you're starting to make that plan and trying to think of how am I going to make that plan and feeling boggled about all the different terms and words like accreditation and credits and what is required, what is not required, that is the first place you start. Start with what your state laws require. The best place, honestly, I'm the mama who doesn't like reinventing the wheel. If there's something out there that has the information, go find it, because I don't like reinventing the wheel. I always send mamas to Homeschool Legal Defense. They have a free summary of your state laws. They probably won't have on that free site what your state requires for homeschool, for high school. I can only, I'll use Alabama as an example today because that's where I am. That's what I'm used to. And it will maybe help trigger you where you can know where to go and what terms to use to look for your state. Now, let me share my screen so you can see. Let's see. Okay, I did find a website that has all 50 state high school requirements. That is for public school, not homeschoolers, because you have to remember your state may not have any requirements. Alabama has no requirements for graduation. Every state is different, so it's really hard. It's hard to go in and find out what your state requires. The best place to go is Homeschool Legal Defense. You may be able to find it on the free. I can't remember if it has it on the free level or not, but you can ask your homeschool mamas in your local area. They'll be able to tell you if there are any requirements. But if you're in Alabama, that's where I am, there are none. So we have to make our own plan, and that's not a bad thing. It's not having requirements does not mean you don't make a plan. That's definitely not what it means. You've got to have a plan and know where you're going. A lot's going to go toward where they want to go after they graduate. Now, most kids in 9th grade is not going to know where they want to go. So my suggestion is I always used my state requirements as a guideline, not the rule. Nothing there was set in stone, but I always hit the 4 core. When a mama talks about the 4 core, we're talking about English, math, science, history. I always hit the 4 core and then move on out from there with electives and other requirements. Let's see. You can find, I'll show you this. What your state requires. I'm going to share that where you can see it. Let's see. I have to kind of dig. It's kind of hard. I have to look. I always end up looking weird. So here you have your state requirements. They have down. Let's see. I thought this was the one that. This is what happens when you don't roll all the way down to the bottom. Here. Did that see it? Let's see if that I'm gonna have to check and see if that lets you. Did it let me change it? See that's the one thing about this. It doesn't share as well. Stop screen. Okay, so anyway, I'll find that link, and I thought it was I thought it had it here, but it's not the one I originally thought it was. Oh, wait, here. Let me share that. I found it, I think. So you can go there, and let me find it right there. Okay, so here it has all your different states, and you can click on and find out what your state requires. That does not mean that it's required that you do it. Alabama, Alabama, Mississippi, I don't think they have any requirements. Florida, I can't remember. Florida's a little bit different from where I am. I don't think they do, but don't quote me on that. Mississippi, I know, is very similar to Alabama, and they don't have any high school graduation requirements. So the first thing is to find out if there is. Your local groups are the best place to find that. Your mamas who have walked a couple of years ahead of you will be able to say yes, no. I think mostly toward no. Alabama does not have high school graduation requirements, but we have to make a plan, don't we? We have to come up with a plan. Not having requirements does not mean there's not a plan, because having a plan will help you survive the craziness. Now, I found Homeschool Legal Defense had a really nice little thing to plot things out. I'm going to show you Alabama's requirements. You should be able to find one for any state, and we're going to go and share those. So I'll show you what it looks like. Let's see. I'm rolling. I thought I had it, people. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think I have things and I don't. Well, my goodness. Okay, I'm going to open that up over here. Okay, really. Google.com. Alabama. I pull these up so much that they just come up. High school. There they are. Okay, I'm going to pull that up so that you see this is what it'll look like. Okay, I know. I look like I'm looking at a screen and I'm crazy. There are some days I'm crazy. I try. Let's see. This is the thing. I'm adding it in there and I'm not seeing it when I go look for it on here. And that is weird. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, because when I go to pull it up, it's not showing it here, even though I have it up there. Okay, I will post the links below so that you can see it. So in Alabama, we don't have to use that. Let me pull up the other one. You know, this is one of the few times that my pulling things up is not working, and I don't know why it doesn't like this. It may be because it's a PDF. But usually it shares just fine. So I'm like, I don't know. With Zoom it does. Anyway, so okay, let's go dive into making a plan. First, you're going to look at what your state requires for high school graduation. Even if you're not legally bound to it, it gives you a good guideline so that you're not just flying blind. But the main thing to remember is you're going to hit the 4 core. That's going to be math, language arts, science, and history, and then at least 2 electives. Now, that's how I've always handled it. That's what I've always done, because I want them to have some electives. Some of the stuff that we've done for electives is piano, they all do piano, and even one of my girls did guitar, and she's got music theory added into 2 years of piano. I only gave her 2 years of practicum because if you're in a high school, most high schools are going to only give you two years of practicum. So they will have that, and they have music theory. Foreign language, we did Duolingo for 4 years. By the time 4 years is up, they've done way beyond 2 credits. Now, how do I count credits? I use the Carnegie Hour. I could not find a post on that. I'm looking for about 1 hour a day per subject. That's why with Duolingo, they are not getting an hour a day of Russian is what they studied. They don't get an hour a day, but by the time you've done 4 years, you've had way over an hour a day and more than enough to get 2 credits because that's just what I did. They usually did 15, 20, 30 minutes a day. And then I would just take those 2 years. So Carnegie Hour is about 1 hour a day, and you're wanting about 140 to 180 hours. If you do math for 180 days, most curriculum is going to have 180 days. Some will have 160, but definitely in high school, they're around a lesson a day. You want to have between 140, 180 hours. Things like PE, I just had a sheet of paper with PE written at the top, and I would just tick a box and make a tally marks for every time they had an hour. One thing you have to remember is most sports program, community sports, will age out around 14. That's about the beginning of high school. I had to get inventive. In Alabama, we do not have any Tim Tebow type laws. We have a loophole now that kids can play sports at public school. They have to try out just like every other kid. But that was not in place when my son started high school. So what we did is get inventive. I wanted him doing PE. My goal for PE was to be a lifelong goal. Something fun, something that they can develop and do for the rest of their life. So some of the stuff he did karate. He did flag football. He still does ultimate frisbee. You could do disc golf. Whatever gets them moving, they can do toward PE. They did it every day, every week, every year for 4 years, and then I counted it as 1 credit because in Alabama, you're only required to have 1 credit of PE. And that's one thing about your transcript. We're not going to go in detail about transcripts, but because we had that in April, and we're not going to go in detail for early enrollment. We had that in April. I can put those links under here, or Susan did a really fabulous job in April in high school. But with PE, I did not worry quite so much how many hours. I just wanted them actively doing PE for the 4 years, and then I gave them 1 credit. We're not required of that, but it's just the guidelines were made for some reason. I mean, you don't even have to use public school guidelines if your state does not require something. You can use a really nice private school in your area. Say there's a private school and you're like, they have great things. You can pull their requirements and use that as your guideline. You can make it, but your basic thing is you're going to want to have at least 4 core every year: English, math. There's an ant running across my face on the screen, and I don't know where that came from. Okay, that's crazy. This is a crazy day for me. It's like everything went wrong that could go wrong. Already, the morning's not even started. But let me know if you have questions over in the corners because I can get jumbled sometimes. So that's how we did PE. So what you're going to do is have the 4 core and then at least 2 electives. Sometimes we had 3, depending on what's going on. We counted. I would have a sheet of paper. Like if there was something that I was being a little inventive with, like PE, I had a sheet of paper and I just marked and made tally marks for every hour that they did PE. Kind of documented, kept track of what they were doing. So, and then health. Both of my 3 oldest have all been lifeguards, and they went through like an 8-week training several hours a week, and we put that toward health. Not quite enough for everything, but we added some other stuff in there. But there was, CPR, body, a lot of learning in there, so you can find stuff online. Let's see, what else do we have? Some things to keep in mind. In your state, you may have some type of Tebow law. You need to look and see that, may have that option at public school. You may or may not want that. Some parents love that. Some parents don't want that. That's up to you. Also, junior ROTC should be available. That was a federal military decision that junior ROTC would be open for homeschoolers. It is so new. It came out right before COVID, so the bugs may not be worked out of that one again. You just have to start calling around to your, probably will be your zoned school. Won't be just whatever school you want to go to. That is the thing when you're dealing with the extracurricular type stuff with your public school. It's going to be your zoned school. It won't be just any school you want. But junior ROTC should be coming out. This definitely should be in the works in your area. You could call your local, I guess they would, I don't know what they call them. What you'd call your school, find whoever your junior ROTC person is, and talk to them. What do you call him? I mean, maybe he's a sergeant, corporal. I don't know. I remember we had one at my high school, and I just don't remember what that was not me. But you can talk to your local homeschool moms. They should know. But that was, our junior ROTC was a federal decision that junior ROTC would be offered to homeschoolers too, that they had that right. But they're working that bugs out. COVID kind of probably slowed it down. You may or may not have a Tim Tebow type law where you can have courses in Alabama. The only thing that we don't have that law, for one thing. I told you I'd use Alabama as an example because that's where I am. We do not have that law, but the High School Sports Association put it in that homeschoolers can play. So now there's a loophole. Now you have to jump through hoops, and they finally started working out those bugs. But that is an option for high school. It is not an option for middle school or elementary. It is what it is. You may also be able to find things at some private schools. Sometimes they will be open to letting your child play on their teams. It just depends on your area, and you just have to, you have to be brave and call and ask. So that are some options for high school. Another option is early enrollment. This is something that you could possibly do during high school, usually around 10th grade. I don't know your area. I can only talk to Alabama. We do have some awesome ones in my local area. There are even some, I just had somebody that contacted me from North Alabama, and it's online and fabulous pricing. So I put that in my Compass Point group, but fabulous pricing. So there's options, and usually early enrollment can be online at home. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. It'll depend on your state and what's available. I already talked about that. Let's see. So anyway, Erin Wainwright, if you're local, she did an awesome workshop on early enrollment. It is in the group. It is on the web. Actually, it's on the YouTube channel now. You can find it. Fabulous for local stuff. Also, your local trade school may have an option. We have a trade school program through Bishop, which is a community college that is free for homeschoolers. So if you are in my area, in my county, you have to be in my county. You have that possibility. I'm in Mobile County, Alabama. So that is a possibility that you can do trades like welding and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of, if you don't know, ask your veteran homeschool mamas in your area, and they're going to be able to tell you. And if there's not the possibility, that does not mean you don't have the opportunity. You just have to go knock on some doors and ask for some stuff. I am very thankful that somebody worked with Bishop and offered the trade school for free, because that wasn't an option until about 4 years ago. So it just takes a little bit of work sometimes. Let's see. What else can we talk about? We got a little bit of time. I ran through that stuff. That's what happens when I start. I mean, I had my scheduling glitch, and I started running through stuff. So I don't feel relaxed today, but it happens. It's bad, isn't it? But anyway, I have two graduates. It has been our favorite time. Our favorite time. I'm going to show y'all homeschool legal defenses thing while I think about it, and while I have time. I looked at the clock and I'm like, no, you're good, Mama. You're good. Let's see, where was that? I'm looking for. Okay, here. No, here. There. This is what Homeschool Legal Defense has on their site. It's pretty cool. Let's see. There. There. Okay. So it has, even has 8th grade. And remember that you can do high school classes in 8th grade. It just has to be high school level courses. You have to require it just like they're in high school. Some people like that. I do, because then it kind of gives an extra year so they finish. Usually I do science and history. And then by the time they have 12th grade, all they usually have is math and English. And they're able to spend the rest of the time prepping for ACT and stuff like that. They have, they have this, they have some good, these are some pretty good guidelines. In fact, I may make me something similar to this. It's not like it's rocket science, right? I don't like reinventing the wheel, but this one, to get it, you have to be a member, and I might make one for our site. But it's not hard. High school's not been hard. There's lots of great curriculum out there. There's also, I always recommend. Yes, baby, I know. She said we got to leave soon. Blue Collar Homeschool has a wonderful site. They really helped me think outside the box when I was when I was starting. One thing and that's where I started doing the piece of paper with the tallies, because Cole was doing, he was learning to do, is it AV Tech is what it's called? Audio Visual Tech at the church. And all his training was in the morning before church, and he'd like have an hour or two, and I would plot it on a piece of paper and keep track of how many hours he did. And he ended up having enough to do a credit. By the time he graduated, he had almost enough. I think he had almost enough to do 2, but he learned so much, and I just kept track of it. And Blue Collar Homeschool gave me that what's the word? The bravery to do that. And that's how I did the PE, because when they age out, it's hard to find a PE curriculum that actually works with just one kid. Maybe somebody needs to write somewhere. Homeschool mamas, y'all are brilliant. Maybe you need to write some curriculum for PE, how to cover PE when you only have one kid. That's always been one thing that I didn't like, that my littles would look at me when somebody wanted to play a game, and they're like looking at me going, I don't know what that game is. But how do you learn basketball if you don't play basketball? I do remember going over rules when I was in high school. Believe it or not, I actually remember going over rules. We had a book, like some kind of textbook. I mean, we could easily find some way to make some curriculum for PE, right? Juliana did like workout. One idea for PE is, if you don't have some kind of sport, or you don't have the opportunity to join any teams, or can't find stuff, you can join a gym. There's learning there. You can hire an instructor to help your kid work out, and some are very economical. So there's always things you can do with PE. Foreign language, I love. We use Duolingo, but we have a wonderful mama in our group, Joanna, who has Spanish, and my girls are actually taking her class this summer, and she's so fun. I love sitting and listening to them laugh. And piano, we loved piano. So there's always inventive ways to find things, and it doesn't overwhelm or stress out your day. But I have to take the 10th grader, soon to be 10th grader, rising 10th grader, to her driver's ed class. She is the first Vasco kid to take a public school summer school course. It opened up this last 2 years, and she's the first one. None of us ever been in public school. So I have to get there on time. And she's only there an hour, so I'm like grabbing school books for the baby. But anyway, I have to go, and I am sorry about that. It was not my intention to rush today. If you have questions, ask them in the comments. I will know if there are enough questions. I will jump on this afternoon and re-go over the high school. Just let me know. But have a wonderful day. See y'all soon. Bye, guys.